Cancel your appointment and come clean the house. It's the least you can do, my daughter-in-law said. When I refused, she stood up and screamed in front of everyone. You are useless. I grabbed my purse and walked out without looking back. Days later, she lost everything. Those words tumbled out of my daughter-in-law Melissa's mouth as if they were the most natural thing in the world. We were in the middle of my granddaughter Valerie's birthday party, surrounded by 30 guests, purple balloons floating everywhere, and the sweet aroma of the 3-layer chocolate cake I had been baking since 5 o'clock that morning. I had the phone pressed against my ear. On the other end, Mr. Anderson, the antiques appraiser, had just offered me $45,000 for the opal necklace I inherited from my mother. $45,000. It was my salvation, my only chance to have something of my own after 12 years of feeling like a stranger in my own house. But Melissa didn't care. She planted herself in front of me in those black patent leather heels she always wore to look taller, more powerful. Her expensive perfume, Ellie sobbed, hit me like a wave. Eleanor, are you listening to me? Her voice cut through my thoughts. The kitchen is a disaster. Cancel that ridiculous call and get to cleaning. It's the least you can do after we give you a roof over your head. I felt something inside me break. Or perhaps it was finally set free. I lowered the phone slowly. I looked Melissa straight in the eyes. And for the first time in 12 years, in 4,380 days of accumulated humiliation, I said, no. The silence that followed was deafening. The guests stopped talking mid-sentence. Even the music seemed to fade into the background. Melissa blinked twice, as if she hadn't understood correctly. What did you say? I said no. Melissa, I'm on an important call. Her face transformed before my eyes. Surprise morphed into a rage I had never witnessed before. She shot up from her chair so violently that she knocked it over. The sound of metal clattering against the floor made Valerie jump in her seat. And then she screamed. She screamed so loudly that everyone could hear. You are useless. You are a useless burden, just taking up space in this house. The 3-layer chocolate cake I had made with so much love sat untouched on the table. The purple balloons continued their gentle drift in the breeze. My granddaughter Valerie looked at me with tears pooling in her eyes. And my son David, my only son, remained seated with his eyes fixed on his plate, as if nothing was happening. I grabbed my brown leather purse, the one Ernest gave me for our 30th anniversary. I ran my hand over the worn leather, feeling its familiar texture, its promise of better times. I looked one last time at David. Waiting? I don't know what I was waiting for anymore. And I left. I walked through the crowd of guests with my head held high. Even though inside, I felt like I was falling apart. I heard the murmurs, the pitying glances, the uncomfortable silence I left in my wake. I didn't look back. What none of them knew, what Melissa never imagined while she screamed at me in front of everyone, was that the call she interrupted wasn't just any call. Mr. Anderson was waiting for my answer about the opal necklace, those iridescent stones that shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow, the same ones my mother gave me on her deathbed, saying, save these for when you really need them. That moment had arrived. But what happened next, what I discovered in the following days, was much worse than anyone could have imagined. And Melissa, with all her venom and arrogance, had no idea that her scream, that insult in front of 30 witnesses, had just sealed her fate. If you have ever been made to feel worthless in your own home, stay until the end of this story, because what comes next nobody saw coming. I arrived at Rebecca's house with dry eyes. The tears had run out during the drive over. She opened the door, saw my face, and didn't ask a single question. She just hugged me tightly. But to understand how I got to that moment, to that scream that broke me in two in front of 30 people, I need to go back. I need to tell you how a 68-year-old woman, the owner of her own house, ended up feeling like an unpaid maid in the place she built with her husband. It all started 12 years ago when Ernest died. It was a Tuesday in October when the sky was so blue it looked painted on. Ernest was watering the bright pink azaleas in the garden, those flowers he loved so much, when he just stopped. The heart attack was massive. He didn't even have time to call for me. I found him there among the flowers, the hose still gripped in his hand. The first few months were a silent hell. The house felt enormous, empty, filled with the ghosts of conversations we would never have. David came to visit me every weekend, worried and affectionate. He would bring Melissa and Valerie, who was just a 6-month-old baby then. "Mom, you can't stay alone in this big house," David would tell me while pouring coffee. "Why don't we share the space? That way, you won't be alone and we could save on rent." It sounded reasonable. It sounded like something a loving son would suggest. How naive I was. In the beginning, Melissa was a different person. Kind, considerate, even loving. She helped me with dinner, asked how I had slept, hugged me when she saw me looking sad. I thought I hadn't just gained a daughter-in-law, but a daughter. The transformation was gradual, so slow I didn't see it coming. It started with little things. A comment about my cooking. "Oh, Eleanor, don't you think you use a little too much salt?" Then about how I dressed. "At your age, you should wear more discreet colors, don't you think?" Then about my friends from a knitting circle. "Those ladies just go there to gossip. You're wasting your time." When Valerie turned 1, Melissa quit her job. "To dedicate myself to the baby," she said. But the one who ended up taking care of Valerie was me. I was the one waking up at 3 in the morning when she cried. I was the one making her baby food, changing her diapers, singing her to sleep. Melissa would go out with her friends, because I need a break, Eleanor. Being a mother is exhausting. And I kept quiet, because I love my granddaughter, because I thought this was how families were supposed to be, supporting each other. But there was one day that marked the real beginning of my nightmare. Valerie was 3. I was making lunch when I heard the crash. Melissa had deliberately dropped her coffee cup on the kitchen floor. I saw her do it. Our eyes met for a split second. "Oh, I'm so clumsy," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Eleanor, can you clean this up? I mean, you don't work. You have all the time in the world." Something in her tone sent a chill down my spine. It wasn't a request. It was an order disguised as an accident. I cleaned up the coffee. And the next day, I cleaned up another accident. And another. And another. The following years were a downward spiral. I didn't know how to escape. I was assigned chores as if I were part of the house inventory. Cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Wash everyone's clothes. Iron David's shirts and Melissa's dresses. Clean the 3 bathrooms. Mop, dust, tidy up. Meanwhile, Melissa and David went out to elegant restaurants. They traveled to Miami, to Vegas, to Napa. They came back tan and happy with suitcases full of new clothes. "Mom, I brought you this shawl. I saw it and thought of you." David would say, handing me something that was clearly the cheapest thing in the souvenir shop. I would smile and fold it into my tiny closet. Because yes, my closet was tiny. 8 years ago, Melissa came into my bedroom, the master bedroom, the one I had shared with Ernest for 35 years. "Eleanor, we need this room. It's bigger, and David needs space for his home office. You'll be more comfortable in the storage room. It's cozy." The storage room, 8 feet by 10 feet, next to the laundry room, where the noise from the washer woke me up every morning at 6 o'clock, where the heat was unbearable in the summer, because it had no fan, where the smell of detergent seeped into my clothes, my hair, my lungs. But the room wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the loneliness. My only refuge was Thursdays. Every Thursday at 4 in the afternoon, I met with my knitting circle at Rebecca's house. There were 6 of us, all widows or divorced women, all with stories to tell, while we knitted blankets, scarves, and sweaters. Melissa hated those Thursdays. "You're going out again? Valerie needs you," she'd say, even though Valerie was perfectly fine playing on her tablet. "You're so selfish, Eleanor. You only think about yourself." But I went anyway. It was the only thing I had left of myself. Until 3 months ago, something happened that should have opened my eyes for good. It was my birthday, 68 years old. I asked Melissa a month in advance if I could use the living room to invite my friends from the knitting circle. We just wanted to have coffee, eat cake, and talk. "Of course, Eleanor. It's your house, too," she told me with that perfect smile I had learned to distrust. The day of my birthday, I got home from grocery shopping. I opened the door and found the living room full of Melissa's friends. Music blasting, bottles of wine, appetizers everywhere. Eleanor just in time. Melissa shouted over the music. We organized a last-minute get-together. Can you bring us more ice? My friends were waiting for me at Rebecca's house. I had to call them to cancel. Something came up. I told them, my voice breaking. Rebecca didn't believe me. Eleanor, what's going on in that house? Nothing, Becca. Everything's fine. But nothing was fine. And that day, while I served ice to Melissa's friends in my own living room on my birthday, something inside me started to die. Or maybe it started to wake up, because 3 months later, at Valerie's birthday party, when Melissa screamed at me in front of everyone that I was useless, that part of me that had been dormant, humiliated, and trampled on for 12 years finally said, enough. Rebecca opened the door for me at 8 o'clock that night. She was wearing her flowered cotton robe, the one she wears when she's not expecting visitors, and her reading glasses hung from a gold chain. One look at my face was all she needed. Come on in, Eleanor. The tea is already on. She didn't ask me what had happened. Rebecca has that wisdom that only comes from 70 years of life and 40 years of friendship. She knew I would talk when I was ready. I sat in her kitchen at that wooden table where we had knitted so many afternoons, where we had cried for our dead husbands, where we had laughed until our stomachs hurt. The smell of chamomile tea wrapped around me like a hug. She screamed at me. I finally said, in front of 30 people. She told me I'm useless. Rebecca poured the tea into those white porcelain cups she treasures. She didn't say anything. She just waited, and then I broke down. I told her everything, not just about Valerie's party, but everything else. The 12 years of small daily deaths, the looks of contempt, the accidents with the coffee, how they had taken my bedroom, how I had spent my last birthday serving ice to strangers. I sleep next to the laundry room, Becca, in a room that doesn't even have a real window, just a skylight that wakes me up at 5 in the morning. Rebecca set her cup down on the table with a sharp click. And the house, whose name is on the deed? I blinked. I hadn't thought about that in years. Ernest left it to me. I think so. You think so? Rebecca stood up with energy I hadn't seen in months. Eleanor, where are the papers for the house? In the study, but it's Melissa's office now. She keeps everything locked up. Rebecca went to her room and came back with a folder. She opened it on the table and pulled out documents I recognized immediately. Copies of the deeds Ernest and I had signed when we bought the house 38 years ago. When Ernest died, did you sign anything to transfer the property? I searched my memory. I remember those first few months, the pain, the confusion, the meetings with lawyers, the inheritance papers, the will. No, Ernest left everything to me. There was nothing to transfer. Then the house is still in your name, Eleanor. Your name, not David's, not Melissa's, yours. Those words hit me like cold water. For 12 years, I had felt like an unwelcome guest, like someone who should be grateful for a roof over her head. Melissa had repeated it so many times that I ended up believing it. But the house was mine. You need to see those papers, Rebecca insisted. You need to know exactly what documents are in that office and why Melissa has them under lock and key. I stayed at Rebecca's house that night, and the next and the next. David called on the second day. His voice sounded tense, uncomfortable. Mom, where are you? We're worried. Worried. What a curious word. I'm fine, David. I need time to think. Look, Mom, I already talked to Melissa. She overreacted, okay? You know how she gets when she's stressed. With Valerie's party, the expenses, all of it. Come home. We can talk. I heard a noise in the background, Melissa's voice, though I couldn't make out what she was saying. I'm not coming back yet. What? David's voice went up an octave. Mom, don't be dramatic. It's your house too. My house too. As if it were a concession. As if they were doing me a favor. Goodbye, David. I hung up before he could answer. My hands were shaking. During those 3 days, Rebecca and I talked like we hadn't in years. She told me things she had noticed but had never said, respecting my dignity, waiting for me to see it for myself. 2 years ago, at the neighborhood Christmas party. Melissa told the neighbors you were having memory problems, that you were forgetting things, getting confused. I froze. I don't forget anything, Becca. I know, but she's planting the idea, laying the groundwork. For what? Rebecca looked at me with those gray eyes that had seen too much of the world. To declare you incompetent, Eleanor. To take everything from you. The word hung in the air like poison. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in the bed in Rebecca's guest room, staring at the ceiling, feeling the pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was assembling start to fit together. The comments about my age, the jokes about my memory, the way Melissa always interrupted me when I was talking to other people, finishing my sentences, correcting what I said. It wasn't carelessness. It wasn't casual disrespect. It was a plan. On the third day, Rebecca made pancakes for breakfast. We sat in her small dining room, the morning sun streaming through the window, and she told me something that would change everything. I have a nephew, Julian. He's a lawyer. He specializes in family law, cases like yours. Financial and emotional elder abuse by family members. It's more common than you think, Eleanor. And it's a crime. The word crime hit me in the chest. I didn't want to get my son into legal trouble. I just wanted, what did I want? Respect. My house back. My life. I don't know, Becca. He's my son. And you are his mother. The woman who bore him, raised him, loved him. Doesn't that count? I had no answer for that. That afternoon, David showed up at Rebecca's house. He brought flowers, the kind they sell at the supermarket, wrapped in cellophane. He looked tired, but not sorry. Mom, enough of the drama. Let's go home. It's not drama, David. Melissa is very sorry. She already talked to Valerie, explained there was a misunderstanding. The girl misses you. Always Valerie. They always use my granddaughter as emotional bait. And you, David, what do you think about all this? He shifted uncomfortably in Rebecca's dining chair. I think we all got upset, but we're family. Families fight and they forgive. When she screamed at me, you said nothing. You just sat there. I didn't want to make things worse. You didn't want to make your wife uncomfortable. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with truths neither of us wanted to face. Finally, David sighed. What do you want to do, Mom? Divorce her? Melissa is the mother of my child. And I was his mother. But apparently, that mattered less. I'll go home, I said finally. But things are going to change, David. I am going to change. I went back to my house that afternoon. Melissa was waiting for me in the living room. When she saw me walk in, her eyes filled with tears. She ran to me and hugged me. Eleanor, forgive me. I don't know what got into me. The stress, the worries, I said horrible things. Things I didn't mean. Her hug felt fake, like everything else. But I hugged her back because David was watching us from the stairs with hope in his eyes. It's okay, Melissa. Do you really forgive me? Her tears were soaking my blouse. Really? But inside, something had shifted. As I held her, smelling her expensive perfume and feeling her crocodile tears, I remembered Rebecca's words. She's laying the groundwork to take everything from you. And in that moment, hugging my daughter-in-law who was crying fake tears, I made a decision. If she was playing chess, then I would play too. But she didn't know she had just woken up a rival who had spent 12 years studying her every move. The first few days after my return were strangely calm. Melissa acted as if we were best friends. She'd ask if I slept well, pour my coffee in the morning, even offer to help me make dinner. It was all performance. So perfect, it was almost funny. David seemed relieved. See, Mom, you just needed to talk. Things can work when we all do our part. I nodded. I smiled. I played along. But at night, in my room next to the laundry, with the smell of detergent clinging to the sheets, I thought. I planned. I remembered every detail of what Rebecca had told me. The following Thursday, I went to my knitting circle. Melissa didn't object. Of course, Eleanor. Enjoy your afternoon with the ladies. You deserve it. That kindness made me more nervous than her yelling. At Rebecca's house, My friends greeted me with hugs and worried looks. They all knew what had happened at Valerie's party. News travels fast in our neighborhood. "Are you okay, Eleanor?" asked Susan, the youngest of the group at barely 62. "I'm learning," I replied. Rebecca pulled me aside into her kitchen, while the others took out their yarn and needles. "My nephew Julian wants to talk to you. He says it's urgent." "Why urgent?" "Because he did some digging and he found things, Eleanor, things you need to know." 2 days later, on a Saturday afternoon, while Melissa and David had taken Valerie to the movies, I went to Julian's office. It was a modest building downtown, 3rd floor, no elevator. I climbed the stairs with my heart pounding against my ribs. Julian was a man of about 45 with glasses and a kind smile that reminded me of Rebecca. He offered me water, coffee, a comfortable chair in front of his desk, which was covered in files. "Mrs. Eleanor, my aunt told me about your situation. I did a little research, with her permission, and there are things you need to know." He pulled out a folder and opened it in front of me. Melissa Fuentes is 39 years old with a compromised credit history. She owes a total of $85,000 between 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, and a car loan. I couldn't breathe. $85,000. The interest is eating her alive. Excessive purchases, trips, restaurants. Her spending pattern is unsustainable. I thought of all those trips to Miami, the designer clothes, the expensive shoes, the dinners at restaurants where one dish costs what I spent on groceries for a whole week. "That's why she needs a house," I said in a low voice. "Exactly. Your house, according to the county records, has an approximate value of $850,000. If she manages to sell it, she can pay her debts and have enough left over to start fresh." "But there's a problem. The house is in my name." "Correct. And according to the law, as long as you are alive and in full possession of your mental faculties, no one can touch that property without your consent." The word alive echoed in my head in a way I didn't like. And if someone declared me mentally incompetent? Julian looked at me with those eyes that had seen too many cases like mine. "Then your son, as a direct relative, could petition for legal guardianship. And with that guardianship, he could make decisions about your assets, including selling the house. Even if I don't agree, if you are declared legally incompetent, your opinion no longer matters in the eyes of the law." I leaned back in the chair. I felt like the walls were closing in. "My aunt told me Melissa has been commenting in the neighborhood about your supposed memory problems." "I don't have memory problems." "I know, but she's building a narrative. Witnesses who can testify that you forget things, that you get confused, that you need supervision. It's a slow but effective process." "What can I do?" Julian closed the folder and looked at me directly. "Protect yourself. Document everything. And be prepared for what's coming." I returned home with my head spinning. $85,000 in debt. My house valued at $850,000. The pieces fit together with a clarity that made me sick. That night at dinner, Melissa dropped the bomb. "Eleanor, we need to talk about something important." David put his fork down. Valerie was playing on her tablet in the living room. "We want to remodel the house. It's needed an update for years, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the bedrooms, everything." "Remodel," I repeated. "Yes, we've been saving, but it's not enough. We need about $30,000 to start." $30,000, almost a third of her debt. "I don't have that kind of money, Melissa." "But you have the necklace." Her voice was still sweet, but there was steel underneath. "That opal necklace you guard so carefully. My aunt has a jewelry store in Beverly Hills. She could appraise it, give you a good price." "It's already been appraised. $45,000. Melissa's eyes lit up. "See? Perfect. You sell the necklace. We use $30,000 for the remodel, and you keep $15,000 for yourself. It's a win-win. To remodel my house." "Our house, Eleanor." David chimed in for first time. "We all live here. We all benefit." I stared at my plate of lentil soup. The spoon was shaking in my hand. "I'll think about it." "There's not much to think about, Mom." David's voice hardened. It's only fair. We pay the utilities, the food, everything. I'll think about it. Melissa smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. Don't take too long, Eleanor. Materials are getting more expensive every day. That night, when everyone was asleep, I went down to the kitchen for a glass of water. The house was dark and silent. I passed by the study, Melissa's office. The door was slightly ajar. My heart was beating so hard, I thought it would give me away. I went in. The desk was tidy, almost obsessively so. Colored folders, pens arranged by size, a closed laptop. I searched the drawers with trembling hands. In the third drawer, under some furniture catalogs, I found a green plastic folder. I opened it, and my world stopped. They were property transfer documents for my house. But the signatures weren't mine. Someone had forged my signature on at least 5 different documents. Deeds, power of attorney, authorizations to sell. Everything was fake. I kept looking. Behind the green folder, there were envelopes. I opened one. Printed emails between Melissa and a real estate broker in Pasadena. Dear Mrs. Fuentes, we confirm receipt of the documentation. The house on Westridge is ready to be listed as soon as we have the final deed. Suggested price, $850,000. Our commission is 4%. We await your news. Date of the email, 2 weeks ago. There was another envelope, this one with the letterhead of a law firm. Process for declaration of mental incompetence. Client, Melissa Fuentes. Subject, Eleanor Duran. Appointment, November 28th, 10:30 a.m. November 28th. 15 days from now. I took out my phone. With shaking hands, I photographed every document, every email, every piece of paper in that cursed folder. When I finished, I put everything back exactly as I found it. I closed the drawer. I left the office like a ghost. In my room, I sat on the bed and looked at the photos on my phone. The evidence was there, clear, irrefutable. Melissa didn't just want to take my house. She wanted to erase me, declare me incompetent, sell everything. And David, my son, did he know? Was he an accomplice or just an idiot blinded by his wife? I didn't know, and that doubt hurt more than all the humiliations combined. But one thing I did know, I couldn't keep playing the victim. I opened my email. It was 2 a.m, but I had to write. Becca, I have the proof. Everything. I'm going to Julian tomorrow. This ends now. Her reply came in seconds. It's about time, Eleanor. It's about time. I lay down with the phone against my chest, feeling something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Power. Sunday dawned with an aggressive sunbeam cutting through the skylight of my room. Melissa made a special breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice. The smell filled the house. Sit down, Eleanor. I'm cooking today. You rest. David read the newspaper. Valerie was coloring in her princess book. It all looked like a picture-perfect family scene from a magazine. But I had seen the documents. I knew the truth. And now every smile from Melissa felt like the edge of a knife. Have you thought about the necklace? Melissa asked as she poured coffee. The remodeling can't wait. There's dampness in the walls. Eleanor, if we don't fix it soon, it's going to get worse. I'm still thinking about it. What's there to think about? David put down the paper. Mom, the necklace is sitting in a box. You don't use it. You don't enjoy it. At least let it be useful for something. Useful, like paying his wife's debts. It's the only thing I have left from my mother. And this house is the only thing we have left from Dad. Melissa sat across from me. She took my hand. Her fingers were cold. He would want us to take care of it, don't you think? To keep it beautiful. The manipulation was so obvious it was disgusting. But I smiled. You're right. Let me talk to the appraiser this week. Melissa's eyes lit up. Really? Really? But I want to make sure I get the best price. Of course. My aunt can help. She knows all the best jewelers in the city. I was sure she did. Jewelers who would give her a commission. That afternoon, while Melissa took Valerie to a birthday party and David was napping, I went back to the study, more prepared this time. I had my phone fully charged and a mental list of what I needed to find. I opened the drawer again. The The green folder was still there, but this time I dug deeper. Behind the furniture catalogs, I found another folder. This one was red and thicker. I opened it, and I felt the floor drop out from under me. They were statements. Credit card statements in Melissa's name. The numbers were even worse than Julian had said. Bank of America owed $28,745. Interest rate, 22%. Nordstrom owed $15,689. American Express owed $31,267. There was more. Loans from pawn shops, signed IOUs, even a loan from a shady online lender with 8% monthly interest. How had she gotten to this point? I looked at the dates. The spending went back 5 years. $300 dinners, $200 shoes, a designer handbag that cost $4,500, all while I was sleeping in a storage room and wearing the same clothes I'd had for 10 years. But the worst part was at the bottom of the folder, a printed document, an email between Melissa and someone named Roger Keene, attorney at law. Dear Melissa, regarding your inquiry about the process of mental incompetence for seniors, I confirm we need 2 witnesses to testify to erratic behavior or memory loss. A psychiatric evaluation will be required. I can recommend professionals who understand the situation. Documentation proving the subject cannot manage her finances. The process takes 3 to 6 months. Once she's declared incompetent, you and your husband, as direct relatives, can petition for guardianship. With guardianship, you have total control over her assets, including the sale of property. My fee is $8,500, payable in 2 installments. I await your instructions. Roger Keene. The date, September 15th. 2 months ago. Her reply was dated 1 week later. Roger, perfect. I already have the witnesses. My neighbor Roseanne and my sister-in-law Patricia. Both have noticed Eleanor's decline. When can we start? Time is of the essence. I need liquidity urgently. Melissa, I photographed everything. Every page, every email, every statement. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I was beyond fear. I was in a place of absolute cold, sharp clarity. 2 witnesses. Roseanne, my neighbor from 3 houses down, who I'd had coffee with hundreds of times. Patricia, David's sister, my own sister-in-law, who I had cared for as a child, who I had helped when she got divorced. Both of them willing to lie. To say I was losing my mind. For money, for loyalty to Melissa, for reasons I would probably never understand. I kept looking. In the bottom drawer, I found something that broke my heart. A manila envelope. Inside, brochures for nursing homes. 3 different ones, with information filled out by hand. My name, my age, suggests a diagnosis. Incipient senile dementia requires constant supervision. One of the brochures had highlighter marks. Serenity Gardens, comprehensive care for seniors from $1,800 monthly. There was a sticky note attached. This one, far from the neighborhood. No visits without family authorization. The handwriting was Melissa's. I sat in the desk chair, surrounded by evidence of my own planned destruction. I didn't cry. I had no tears left for this. Melissa didn't just want my house. She wanted to erase me, put me in a home far away where no one could see me, where I couldn't defend myself or tell the truth, and then sell everything, pay her debts, start over, with my money, in my house, with my life buried in some $1,800 a month nursing home. I heard a car pull up outside. Voices. Melissa was back. I put everything away quickly. Closed the drawers. I walked out of the study just as the front door opened. Eleanor, were you? Melissa's voice was cheerful. Fake. Here in the kitchen. My voice came out surprisingly calm. She walked in carrying Valerie in her arms. My granddaughter's face was painted like a butterfly with pink glitter on her cheeks. Look, Grandma, I'm a butterfly. You're beautiful, my love. Melissa set her down. Go wash your face, Valerie. Be careful on the stairs. When the girl had gone upstairs, Melissa approached me. Her smile was perfect. So, when are we going to see my aunt, the jeweler? Wednesday is fine. Perfect.